This is why President Ruto's administration can't stand Ibrahim Traore.
About Captain Ibrahim Traore, I used to also fall for his hype. I am not a big fan of that particular gentleman.
Ask any diehard Pan-African on TikTok or a dreadlocked revolutionary on Twitter, and they will tell you without blinking that Captain Ibrahim Traore isn't just the best president in Africa. He is the whole African Union rolled into one man.
Now or the new leader of Burkina Faso. And today I came across a clip where he has made education free from primary all the way to university.
According to this growing online gospel, Traore has single-handedly turned Burkina Faso from a West African underdog into a sovereign supernova, flipping the bird to Western powers, rebooting entire industries and baptizing the nation in mineral wealth. Agriculture blooming, mining booming, transport zooming. All this, we are told, in under a few years of his leadership.
Amazingly, the government of Captain Ibrahim Traore aims to complete the project with 18 months with a total budget of 70 billion CFA francs.
But while much of the continent is singing Traore's praises and putting his face on their WhatsApp profile pictures, there is one place where his name leaves a bitter aftertaste. State House, Nairobi, Kenya. Yes, the administration of Kenya's President William Ruto seems to treat Traore the same way a cat treats a bath, with visible disgust and silent plotting. And here is why. Number 1. Coup phobia.
We are against any undemocratic removal of any government. Coups are not a panacea. They are not a solution to the challenges that we have as a continent.
If there is a word that makes President Ruto and his cabinet break into political hives, it is coup. Traore didn't rise to power through polished ballot boxes or Instagrammable inaugurations. He took power by force.
I swear before the people of Burkina Faso and on my honor to preserve, respect, uphold, and defend the Constitution, the Charter of Transition, and the laws, to make every effort to guarantee justice to all inhabitants of Burkina Faso.
And that, for Ruto's team, is unforgivable.
Any undemocratic removal of any government immediately earns the expulsion from the African Union. They cease to be members of the African Union.
From former CS of Defense Aden Duale to Senator Aaron Cheriot, Ruto's brigade has been on a moral crusade against any regime or any person that doesn't come wrapped in electoral ribbons. Now, according to Cheriot, people should stop romanticizing military strongmen with Pan-African hashtags. In his view, if Africa ever wants to grow up and stop being a meme on international news, we need ballot papers, not bullets.
You know, I followed, you said something that got my attention about Captain Ibrahim Traore. I used to also fall for his hype, like many people fall on TikTok. I saw another journalist another time saying, oh, did you see the way he was cheered when he arrived for the inauguration of the Ghanaian new president, Mr. Speaker? And I was excited like most people, until I did some further research about what is exactly going on in Burkina Faso. And I want to challenge Senator Ledama to do the same, perhaps counter-check Senator Ledama, the things that you read online and the reality on ground, as Kenyans say. And I was shocked actually to learn that despite all this hype and the things that we read about, the things that they are doing, you know, first of all, I am not a fan of coups. I am a firm believer in democracy. I strongly believe that if there were lesser coups in Africa and more transitions by the ballot, Africa will advance better than it is doing through coups and by the power of the bullet. For that reason, I am not a big fan of that particular gentleman.
And don't forget, President Ruto once wore the Pan-Africanist crown himself. But when coups started erupting like political popcorns, especially in West African states, when they tried to unplug from France, President Ruto chose to wag a finger instead of raising a fist in solidarity.
The Republic of Kenya joins the rest of the world to condemn in the strongest terms this unconstitutional act that subverts democracy through a coup d'etat.
You see, one of the biggest betrayals, at least in the Pan-African group chat, was President Ruto's reaction to the Niger coup orchestrated by Traore's ideological brother-in-arms, General Abdurrahmane Chiani.
Subverts democracy through a coup d'etat and calls for the immediate release of President Mohamed Bazoum, who is reportedly seized by members of the Presidential Guard.
While the rest of Africa's anti-French brigade toasted the fall of Western puppets, President Ruto delivered a moral TED talk. He may not have named Traore directly, but in condemning Chiani, Traore's friend, his message was loud and clear.
The government and the people of Kenya earnestly urge all parties involved to refrain from further escalation that might jeopardize the lives and livelihoods of the people of Niger. We call for the swift restoration of constitutional rule, ensuring the protection of the population and a return to full civilian authority while upholding utmost respect for the country's institutions.
Number 2, propaganda. Ruto's ally, Senator Arion Cheriot, isn't done yet. He claims Traore is the African king of propaganda. On social media, Traore is painted as Africa's messiah. But according to Cheriot, behind that gritty charisma is a crumbling country. According to him, under Traore's reign, more territory has been lost to insurgents than ever before. The man who came to save Burkina Faso from terror is now allegedly losing ground, like literally.
But more importantly, the reason why the military, led by him, took over Burkina Faso is that they insisted that there were challenges with security in their country. And there were terrorists ravaging around, killing people, and all these kind of challenges. You need to check Senator Ledama, because from the research that I did, is that actually since they took over power, and you know wars are very costly. You can see what is happening to the gentleman in Ukraine. See how he's being embarrassed and the things that he's being taught. Because wars are extremely expensive. If you don't have a way through which you will fund your war, then you better not start it. So the unfortunate situation in that country, and we need to check, unfortunately they are not part of the Great Lakes, but this is just to make the point that we need to understand our continent better, is that since coming into power by the bullet of Captain Ibrahim Traore, they have lost 40% more territory to the terrorists that were ravaging people. So it's easy to read all these things online, TikTok, and people say, oh, certain things are happening. But do your research further. And that's the tragedy with Africa.
But scroll through Pan-African feeds and you'd think Burkina Faso is a promised land, free from debt, independent from France, on the fast track to economic nirvana. And someone will even think Burkina Faso is probably one viral thread away from launching their own cryptocurrency, Burkini coin, if that could happen. Now, in Kenya's political hallways, this all feels too familiar. A young populist leader driven by social media frenzy is hailed as a revolutionary while critics whisper about what's burning behind the scenes.
I am not a big fan of that particular gentleman.
So what is the beef here? Now, in essence, Traore is everything President Ruto is not at the moment. Young, militant, revolutionary, and loved by Pan-Africanists. Traore doesn't lose sleep over Western approval or IMF balance sheets. He's not in the business of playing nice with Paris, Washington, or Beijing. However, for President Ruto, on the other side, he is the continent's diplomatic butterfly, flirting with the US, exchanging smiles with China, sipping cappuccino with Macron, then flying back to Africa, expecting a hero's welcome from Pan-Africanists.
Any government, coups are not a panacea. They are not a solution to the challenges that we have as a continent.
Now that is why President Ruto's administration isn't just skeptical about Traore, it is allergic to his rulership style. In a region where leaders are desperate to maintain order, Traore is a storm they pray doesn't cross their borders. And while the streets of Ouagadougou chants his name, in Nairobi's corridors of power, Ibrahim Traore remains the ghost that haunts their carefully choreographed democracy.